Since 1955, Congress has legislated regulations concerning environmental quality and the limiting of its antagonists. The Air Pollution Control Act of 1955 provided funds to local and state agencies for research and training. The Motor Vehicle Exhaust Study of 1960 authorized the Public Health Service to study automotive emissions and health. The Air Pollution Control Act extension of 1962 extended the 1955 Act and required the Public Health Service to include auto emissions in their program. The Clean Air Act of 1963 mandated research at the federal level, lent aid to states for training, exercised federal authority to abate interstate pollution, and matched grants to local and state agencies for air pollution control. The Motor Vehicle Air Pollution Control Act of 1965 created national standards for auto emissions, coordinated pollution control between the United States, Canada, and Mexico, and conducted research into sulfur dioxide and auto emissions. The Air Quality Act of 1967 identified air quality control regions, created air quality criteria, included control technology documents, mandated state implementation plans, and legislated separate automotive emission standards for California. In 1970, President Nixon created the Environmental Protection Agency by executive order, an agency of the federal government of the United States charged to regulate chemicals and protect human health by safeguarding the natural environment, air, water, and land. The Clean Air Act amendments of 1970 included national ambient air quality standards, state implementation plans to achieve national ambient air quality standards by 1975, new source performance standards, national emission standards for hazardous air pollutants, aircraft emission standards to be developed by the EPA, automotive emission standards for hydrocarbons for 1975 models and regulation for 76 models, allows states to adopt their own air quality standards more stringent than federal standards, motor vehicle emissions inspections and maintenance programs, and citizens were allowed to sue for air pollution violations. The Clean Air Act amendments of 1977 identified geographic regions classes 1, 2, and 3 to preserve air quality, EPA-sanctioned emissions offsets and emission banking within non-attainment regions, and state permits that required prevention of significant deterioration studies. In today's environment, wholeheartedly focused on cutting down greenhouse gas emissions, government has pushed for stricter legislation in favor of low emission and automobiles. President Barack Obama has already legislated landmark regulation including the mandated 35 miles per gallon minimum rating for automakers by 2016. In the shorter term, Americans will have the opportunity to see Obama make use of taxes and subsidies, ultimately focusing the next generation of automobiles on fuel efficiency and affordability. I myself, as a future buyer of a new next-generation automobile, am skeptical of the movement. It is ultimately in one's own favor to conform to a bloated tank-like vehicle versus the good of the environment and the sake of efficiency, because what gives in the equation of better mileage and efficiency is metal, synonymous with safety while driving an automobile. And so it persists, another problem added to the laundry list of American woes. But separate from most others, it is directly controlled by consumers, the people of our nation, in which we could choose our own direction in exercising personal freedoms for the good of our nation.